After a complete overhaul of my once specimen Dendrobium berryota, I kept all the older canes that showed signs of possible keiki growth, as well as canes that had actively growing keikis, just so that I can start a new berryota pot. But there's more to this than that. Finally, our project today can commence. For what we're going to do today, we will need a knee-high, and because I only have one, and should you not want to ruin a perfectly fine knee-high, plant Velcro is a great option as well. However, I prefer pantyhose for this project because, well, I will show you. We will also need a glue gun, as well as the precious commodity which are our keikis, which I will now harvest. Now, I did take these keikis off the canes 2 days before this project just to mist the roots and see if they would absorb water straight away, because they are now going to be all independent and such from here on in. Let me get all the keikis off, show you which ones are doing great and how many I have once I have gone through all the older canes, and welcome to the patio. Thank you for your company. I appreciate you being here. I have done a few videos on keiki removal that covers information like when is it the right time to remove a keiki, especially to guarantee successful continued growth. I mean, after all, we do not want to remove a keiki prematurely to then have it collapse on us. Also, in those videos, I cover which is the best method of removing keikis, twisting or leaving the keiki on the cane and just cutting a piece of the cane off so that either potting or mounting is simpler. Those videos will be linked in the description if you would like to have more in-depth details about these free gifts from our orchids. For the removal of all these keikis, I opted for the twisting method. Meanwhile, it took 2 days for these roots to absorb the moisture to some degree, so some were wet when it came to mounting them. Ideally, you do not want to have wet keikis when mounting the way I'm going to show you here. I had a little difficulty with some, but got through it in the end. The dry keikis, of course, were super easy, and getting them to adhere was not an issue at all. Right. The time has come to create another mount. This is a piece of a branch that I picked up from some landscapers that were taking down a locust tree. This branch has been on the patio exposed to the elements for the past 8 months, so there is no more sap oozing from it. When it first arrived on the patio, I drilled 3 holes into it and made some form of a wire contraption to be the anchor points. At this point in time, the mount is not so heavy, so I have not used the middle nail with a 3rd wire, but I have that option for the future, and doing this ahead of time will save me the problem of not being able to do so once new roots hopefully adhere to this mount, because I have plans to expand on this mount. Wink, wink. As I am by myself and hopefully my arms are not going to get in the way of the viewfinder too much, the best way to secure a keiki in an attempt to get it to stay upright without wobbling around before the next step is to get it to stay firmly and securely in position where it is supposed to be without crushing the roots. I have no better recommendation for that than a knee-high. The elasticity and wider surface area is superb to tie the roots down with, without crushing or cutting into them. Even twine would not be suitable because the moment you apply pressure to tie the twine, the roots would be compromised. As you can see, I can really tighten the knee-high and the keiki is not going anywhere while I prepare for what's coming next. You could actually say, look mom, no hands. Now if I had a boatload of knee-highs, then I would use them for each keiki and not do the next step. I could leave the knee-highs in place until they deteriorate on their own, or until the keikis grow to such a degree that they have attached themselves to the mount by way of their roots, but that is not only unsightly, it will also take years. So enter the glue gun. The heat of the silicone is minimal and will not destroy any cells that come into contact with it. Also, one day that glob will be obsolete and can fall off on its own or be removed when new roots attach to the mount, securing XYZ keiki to that mount all by itself. Now, check this out. It's perfect. No roots were crushed and I'm able to leave the pantyhose in place until that silicone has completely dried. And while it does that, let's go to the next keiki. Here I am using the fabulous plant Velcro that Trisha's Orchid Life sent me a while ago. Super handy, and while we don't have the large surface area a knee-high gives us, we have a flat surface and it is soft as well. Now I would prefer this keiki to be more upright with its new growth. The roots are more important though, so I'm leaving it at a bit of a lean. The base of that new growth is where my silicone is going to go to secure keiki number 2 to the mount. I can assure you that it was so nice to have the warm sun on my back while I was mounting my keikis. Trust, I thoroughly enjoyed this. However, the temperature was super chilly, which was an advantage because the warm silicone hardened very quickly, making this whole process nice and quick. In total, this took me 10 minutes. The longest part was not the position and securing of the keikis, that went relatively quickly. The longest part was to be super careful about where the cable of the extension cord was and where the cord of the glue gun was, so that I would not trip over myself. I had to double check if the silicone did dry out as fast as I was assuming it would, and yes, the next keiki was subjected to the knee-high treatment. And having such a chill in the air, the strands of silicone I started dragging around with me as if they were spider webs, they were a bit of a nuisance as well. Anywho, let's finish these off and perhaps do something about the bare end caps of branch. I cannot tell you how much fun I had with this project. I wish I had more. I wish I had another branch, more keikis, maybe something in the future. But it was so much fun to get into it because I had this in mind for such a long time. However, the keikis needed to get with the program first. So these tiny little keikis, whether they make it or not, I had nothing to lose by putting these on the end caps. If they make it, great. If not, perhaps we will have larger ones in the future to replace them. Either way, I'm so glad to be rid of all the extra pots that were thankfully not in the way because of the time of year, but still, they weren't exactly a pretty sight. I also get more lekker back. Getting this project done, oh, I feel as though I am winning, including so fast and efficiently. So this is the west side of the patio. It faces south. For the winter months, this is a perfect location for a Dendrobium Berryoda. During the summer, we are going to move them out to a more shady location, but for now, I can monitor the progress of possible new growths, and I did see a keiki already had a spike. Now, misting is a dawdle. Time will tell if I can accommodate the watering needs when things are nice and toasty again, temperature-wise, and when Dendrobium ephyllum looks raggedy because of the keikis I still have attached to the canes of 2024. Once they finish blooming, start their new growths and roots, I have the option to either pin them to this mount as the waterfall spiller effect with the Berryoda providing the upright growth habit, both orchids giving us a pretty visual in the future once they establish themselves. And bonus! Both these orchids require the same care with regards to temperature, light, and watering. So, I am of the opinion that we are onto a winner with this mount, and I'm loving it already. The potential! Oh, I can already see this happening. It's gonna be great. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Perhaps the mounting hacks I showed you here can inspire you to do something similar with other orchids, getting a clean visual of roots growing without being hidden or destroyed by any form of tying off, thread, etc. Personally, I absolutely love this clean look. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I love having the opportunity to wish you a beautiful day, but I do attach a condition to that, and that is that you stay safe. Take care. Bye.